Okay, by now most of us here know that a short pay sale occurs when the proceeds from the sale of a property are less than, it's not significant to pay off the existing lender in full. And there are many steps involved to convince that lender to accept less than what is owed. There are many steps involved to convince them, but some, however, may say that the most crucial component to a short sale transaction is having a successful closing. Well, as the escrow holder, it's my duty to ensure a smooth transaction, to avoid any potential delays that can come up, and get your file closed on schedule. So for the short sale, it all starts with the seller's estimate, or the seller's net sheet. Even before we open escrow, the seller's estimate is required, detailing all the fees that should be paid by the seller through the transaction to be approved by the short sale lender. And this is the time to let your escrow officer know if there are any HOA involved, if there's more than one lender, if there's any liens or judgments that you're aware of, and then any and all invoices that that you expect to be put into escrow. So last minute invoices that are not approved up front by the short sale lender may just be rejected later on and then jeopardize the closing of your, reject the final short sale improvement and delay your closing. So when I compare the seller's estimate, I generally check with the title company to see who's on title, if there's any tax liens, and to get any tax information. However, without that seller's complete information, it's not, the title can't really do a thorough search. So which is why I always encourage the agents to complete a statement of information, and I put one on your desk just, you have it there. With the statement of information, title is able to do a thorough search. And in fact, when we open the order, and we order the prelim, title can get started right away and with their search and examination. In fact, as of April of 2010, your car residential purchase contract, item number 12A, requires you to complete and turn in that statement of information within 7 days of acceptance. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware or do that, but it's really imperative to get the title to do that search right away. On the one hand, the information provided on the SI will help them to clear any liens or judgments that are not against your seller, but then on the other hand, you might think that if you hold back turning that in, you might avoid those liens coming up, but really, you're not going to want to do that because some of these liens can take 10 to 20 days to clear, and if you're waiting till the last minute, maybe a day before you're ready to record, Title will pull the recording. They won't allow the file to close. So you can see that time is of the essence. So when you get your purchase contract, have them sign the SI at the same time, and then get escrow open right away and get the deposit in. The escrow officer doesn't want to have to, you don't want them to have to hunt you down for the purchase contract. Make sure it's signed, dated, initialed. As I was saying, that you don't want them to hunt you down for that signed page 8 or that initial confirmation of acceptance. And then when you do get your escrow instructions, make sure your clients turn those in a timely manner. That way we can do our job to process the file. It's important that when you're working with a buyer also that your buyer has all of the financing ready to go, because even though the short sale takes a while to get approved, once it does, it can go really, really quick. So you want to make sure that they're ready. And it's a good idea to have your buyers schedule ahead of time, make arrangements with their employment to come in to sign the loan docs on the same day, if possible. Deadlines are important. If a notice of default of sale or a default or sale has been recorded, watch the deadline. Because just having a valid short sale transaction doesn't stop the foreclosure process. If there's a trustee sale date, make sure you get it postponed. I've seen, there's been times where we go through the whole process and then they sell it, and that's it. And please don't declare bankruptcy in the middle of your short sale transaction. I've seen it happen. It's going to effectively stop the whole process. Along with the short sale letter, the lender will typically include an arm's length transaction affidavit. And you'll want to make sure that your transaction does qualify as an arm's length. I know lenders will waive that deficiency with the new laws. They will waive the deficiency, but they won't release the deficiency judgment until after close of escrow, once they've had enough time to really verify that it is an arm's length, and you don't want to get stuck in that situation if it's really not. Also turn in those documents to your escrow officer, because they will need to turn those into the short sale lender either right before they close or with the final pledge one, and they'll need to submit that to get the final approval to close. And again, without that approval, title won't record. So please turn that in.
Thank you, Vanessa. Well, Vanessa James is with Central Escrow in Monterey Park, and I've closed a couple deals with her. She's really efficient. She's on top of it. She lets me know, besides talking to our office, she also will call me to let me know what's going on with my, with my agents. Thank you. She's something else. So Alba, take it away. She's nervous right now, Beth.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here and be able to speak with you again. Last time I was here was in February. And I wanted to share a little bit about helpful tips on smooth closings. And I think I will better start with a story. In 1974, this couple decided to transfer the property to their 7 children. And the couple left the life estate to the oldest daughter, and the remaining 6 children will be, the sellers. So 36 years later, they decided they want to sell the property. I don't think the children knew that they were all entitled. And so what we needed to do was to make sure that we terminated the life estate, because the life estate was still, she was still alive. And so we terminated the life estate. So then 6 children, and then from those 6 children, 2 of them were deceased. So they were not holding title as joint tenants, they were as tenants in common. So then therefore, the two decedents have to have probate. So that all this process, that I'm going to share it because it has a lot of little things in it. And because the parents transferred the property to the children, they were entitled, they became our seller. So therefore, since they're the sellers, their spouses, because California is the community property state, their spouses have to sign a quitclaim deed. And then some of those spouses were deceased. So we had to get the death certificates, we had to do all that stuff. It was very exciting. Every aspect was very exciting. And in the meantime, we had a very blessed, very patient buyer. So 6 months later, the buyer was still hanging in there. And 7 months later, the buyer was still hanging in there. And when we got all the paperwork ready to go for the transaction, the buyer's lender decided to change the terms, and they were not allowed the loan. The terms changed, and so the buyer didn't have the money to buy the property. But the buyer had family members. So they went away and asked all the family members to wire funds into escrow, and 3 weeks ago we closed it.
Congratulations. So any tips, Alba? What is the tip?
The tip is that do not give up. Always try your very best, work as a team, communicate. If you see a transaction, if there is a living trust, people are holding title in the living trust, make sure you ask your clients for a copy of the full living trust and any amendments thereto. And if anybody's deceased, make sure they get certificates. We're supposed to file an affidavit death of a trustee, and for that we need a certified copy of the death certificate to record that. But most of the time, the title company will allow us to record without an affidavit death of a trustee, as long as we provide them a copy of the death certificate. But we do need to provide a copy of the full trust. If it's a husband and wife, if one of the spouses passed away, you still need to show the copy of the trust, because the surviving spouse, there might be a stipulation on the trust that the surviving spouse maybe have to be a co-trustee with somebody else, and to make sure that he's able to transfer property on his own. And if a person is married, California's community property state, like I said before, So you need to make sure that the spouse is signing quitclaiming. And if they're separated for 20 years or whatever, they need to find a way of making up because you need that quitclaiming to record. Unless you go to court and the court can order, you know, and file an order and you'll be able to separation, no separation or whatever that is. And make sure that whatever the lender needs on your buyers, turn it in because they're very strict on the regulations. And the sooner your buyers provide all the documentation, the sooner we can close escrow. And opening an escrow is very exciting, but closing an escrow even more exciting. I am going to leave it to Yolanda now because I wanted you to have time for questions and answers.
Well, now you know the escrow is very patient, and they're dealing with everybody. So I'm sure that Alba.
There's a lot, especially right now in today's times. It's unbelievable. We've always had fraud, but it changes with the times. Your typical fraud in title obviously is forged documents, cutting and pasting, and that's how it was many years ago, and still has. We still have that. But as the times change, so does the fraud, okay? But your typical fraud, yes, we still have cases where very common family members forge each other's signatures. I've had it very sad to see with children or grandchildren forging documents, refinancing, pulling all the money out. We see that much too often, or right now especially with elderly fraud, where senior citizens and they don't understand what's going on, and it doesn't even have to be a family member. People come and approach them and have them sign documents that they don't even know what they're signing, or if they have Alzheimer's and they know, they prey on these people and have them, either they forge the document or they have them sign documents, or they use power of attorneys as another form of fraud. That's why title companies are very cautious with power of attorneys. It's not that we want to give the escrow and the agents a hard time. It's just that, unfortunately, on a daily basis, as a title company, we see the fraud on a daily basis. We see the claims on a daily basis. And I know you don't see or hear that much, and you're busy dealing with your own transactions, but believe me, it's out there, and it's sad. And we see the family members. I've even seen many times husband and wife divorcing. Oh, there's been exciting forgeries and documents and fraud there. So that kind of has always been your typical fraud. But now as we change into an era of modern technology and high tech, I have a couple of news stories to share with you. And one of them just recently happened to a title company, and in each, this is back in Florida. And in different states, they handle things a little bit differently. And in this particular case, in the state of Florida, title and escrow is kind of one and the same. They handle the transaction together. And at the time of closing, the sellers came in for their check, because that's what they were instructed. They were going to get their net proceeds in a check. So on the day of closing, they came in, met with their agent or escrow officer, if you want to say, and picked up their check. They walked out, went to their car, and in a matter of just minutes, they came back inside the title company and said to the agent escrow officer, you know what, we changed our mind. They're gonna put a hold on this check. It's gonna take a while. We decided that we'll get our proceeds faster if you wire it to us. Okay? The agent, escrow officer, took the check, wrote void, and immediately initiated the wire. Okay. You know where I'm going with this story? Okay, has anybody heard of smartphone applications where the banks now are coordinating with the phone companies, where all you have to do is take a picture of the check and you quickly deposit the check? That's what the couple did. They went to their car, they took a picture of the check, they deposited the check, they came back in, gave it back to the escrow officer agent. She wrote void. It was a matter of minutes. So the agent, escrow officer, did not think or dream that these people were intending to have double deposit. Okay, well, obviously when she wired the money, so they were paid twice the proceeds. Obviously when the escrow agent found out, she immediately called the police and proceeded with other procedures. But because we are in an age of technology, this is the new fraud that the title companies are encountering now. Another one that just recently happened was a lender broker, very smart if you think about it, but opened up 30 refis on 30 different properties and ordered 30 prelims from the same title company. They masterminded, and I'm sure it was a group of people, and this was very well thought out. They coordinated to have as many of these 30 refis on these 30 separate properties fund on the same day, okay? What they did was, and they brokered out these to a different lender, obviously. What they did was they took the prelim from this, all the prelims from the particular title company, and changed the wire instructions. They altered the prelim, changed the wire instructions on every one of the prelims, and so when it was submitted to the other lender, not knowing, okay, so they coordinated a number of closings on the same day. What the title company didn't know was they wired to, the lender, the new lender, thinking they were wiring to the title company, wired to a bank out of the country. In the millions, they orchestrated and planned this out, okay, in the millions. Now, of course, the new lenders, the lenders that got burned, okay, immediately want to go after the title company. In that title company's defense, they said, we didn't insure, we didn't close, we never received the money. How can we be there to back you up if we never received the money, we never closed your transaction, we never insured you? Okay, again, we're in a whole different era of technology, and it's this white collar crime, but it's very, very sophisticated. We sometimes are looked upon, the title company, as the deal breakers or the bad guys. And it's not that we want to kill the transaction. It's not that we want to reject or turn down the transaction, because we don't get paid if it doesn't close. We are in the same boat as all of you. But we are trying to do our job. We try to protect all parties involved. We are only trying to do our job and insure the property and take care and protect. And so when the title company asks for extra documentation, or ask for this or that, it's only because we are looking out after the best interest of everyone involved in the transaction. This doesn't go on, but when we had that refi boom, remember, everybody remembers that refi boom? The trend back then, and I remember, I'm sure Nancy and Annie can testify, I remember back in the refi boom, there was so many refis that we had a problem with the notaries. Straw borrowers, oh my God, people, they were using dead people's social security. Wow. And what happened was the notaries were kind of a little bit lenient, and they were loaning out their book, or even notaries who did have their notary license were in on this fraud. And they were doing refis on dead people or people that did not exist, straw borrowers. Well, that was a common practice of fraud back in the refi boom. Again, now we're in a different era. So again, just be careful, work with your title company and escrow company. When we ask for documentation, again, it's not to kill the deal, it's to protect you. Thank you.
Very good.
Today I want to share with you in regarding for the title fraud. There are 3 types of the title fraud that we have seen a lot this year. I will share with you 3 true stories. The first one is trustees deed situation. We had a case that people forged the signature for a $800,000 transactions in San Diego this year. When they are not officially foreclosed the property and the sale was delayed, they forged the signature and recorded their own trustee deed into a third party or LLC. And typically, it is the trustees signing, which a person is signing on behalf of a company. So this criminal is very sophisticated. What they did was they used the title company stamps and had order numbers on it. And with the current technology, we know it's very easy to use a computer to come up with a high quality print image. And you can change the font, makes everything looks like it's legit. And second story is for an REO situation. We have seen it happening a lot in Riverside and San Bernardino County. What they did was they forged the bank signature and make it look like the normal REO sale. In fact, they know which lender foreclosed the properties right away and which one takes a long time. So what they do is they choose the ones, the lender they foreclose the property not right away. And what they did was they turn around and sell it below market price so they can get things quick. So what they do is they told the buyer they are the VP of ABC's bank. In reality, it is not an REO sale. We had 18 cases fraud and contact the banks, but they don't contact us back. So what we did was we reported to the police. We actually turned 3 guys in jail. And the last case, the last story, is a short sale situation. What they did was they forged a reconveyance. When they opened the prelim, well, actually when we opened the prelim, it showed the property is free and clear. However, our title unit noticed and questioned why there were 2 recon was recorded on both of deed of trust in less than 1 year. So what we did was we contacted the lender. We found out the first loan was 6 months delinquent, and the loan was originally takeout was $1.6 million, and the second was 5 months delinquent for $500,000. And this is a true story. So what we did was we called the police. We set up a sting operation, and the police pretend he's a notary person. We didn't even tell the escrow officer. So the escrow company, they didn't know about it. So what happened was the police were able to catch this bad guy. When the police caught him and opened the back of his trunk, they found out all kinds of forged documents in the back of his trunk. And today, the tip of the day is there's a good loss fund. We see a lot of hot money come into Southern California. You see people from Canada, we see people from mainland China, Taiwan, or other parts of Asia. They buy properties in cash. So this good loss funds is if the cashier check is from out of the area, we will wait for 3 days to ensure the check is clear. And today, we are not teaching you how to do fraud in a trustee's deed or REOs or short sale situation. Simply, we want to share with you what's happening in the market. And the last thing is, if it sounds too good to be true, make sure you check everything else. Thank you.